So I mentioned cancels in the when we were talking about referrals and net growth, and you can't forget about cancellations. And you really need to be as proactive as you possibly can be. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a lack of communication sometimes where even if you're calling a customer proactively, they're not answering their phone or they're just not getting back to you until that day where you get a call and Mr. Smith wants to cancel his service and you're totally caught off guard. So with that being said, there's a couple of key points. You want to make sure that you have a point person on those cancellations. Somebody has to own it within your company. It cannot be a group effort where it's everybody focuses on it, because if everyone's focused on it, it's no one's priority. So you need to have someone that really owns that priority and pays attention to the exact number. Also, if you're going to have someone in charge of cancel saves, they have to have some flexibility and ability to really attack them. And when Lee was talking about rebuttals before, well, you have to be a rebuttal specialist with cancel saves. And this is really like some of the best lawn care salespeople that I've ever seen at some point in time spent a significant amount of time dedicated to cancel saves um, for two reasons. One, it sharpens your skills. Two, there's not a lot of people that can do it unless you're doing it over and over and over again, and you're just that person in the office that is, hey, I'm going to make it my initiative that we're not losing any customers. And there's some guidelines to utilize. Always have an exit interview with any canceled customers. So if they call into the office and say, I'd like to cancel my service, all right, I will put that request in, but so and so is going to have to contact you and provide you with the exit interview so that we can officially cancel your service. They will call you within this amount of time. That way that you're making it so that they'll answer the phone in order to accomplish what they want to accomplish, but it gives you an opportunity to not only try and save them, but understand, even if you can't save them, why they would want to cancel the service in the first place. Sometimes it's in your control, sometimes it's out of your control. But if you take the approach that it's always in your control, then you're going to be much more successful in saving those cancels. Create a cancel save process. I just mentioned one part of it, but you have to have follow up letters. You have to have like possibly a departing gift, because the one of the things that you get with a canceled customer is you don't want negative publicity. There's a lot of negative advertising that can happen. If somebody's unhappy with the service, they're going to tell 10 people. If somebody's happy with it, they're going to tell one. So that's why you got to make sure that you avoid the negative advertising that you just don't want out there on the street. Um, let's see, the 30% reimbursement. This was a number that we've used in the past. So if you take the annual value of a customer and you have someone on the phone trying to save that customer without asking permission, to say, oh, can I give them this service or that service? They automatically could go up to 30% of the value of that customer. So if they were $500, they knew they had $150 in services right off the bat without the hesitation that they could offer in order to save that customer. And possibly the most important thing with cancel saves is making sure that you get the question out, how do I get you to be a happy customer and refer me to a friend? Because I don't want them to just come back on board and be resentful and because I talked them into it. I want them to actually be excited again. I want them to, if your customers are not ready to refer other customers, then you're not doing a good enough job. You have to have customers that are excited to refer your business and that you can constantly have that conversation with them. So get the question out there with some of the customers that are going to be the hardest to deal with. My goal is to make it so that you're going to refer me to your friends. So how can I accomplish that? And I'll tell you, in my experience, and Lee, I'm going to come to you right after this. In my experience, every time I asked someone what they wanted and they told me, it was well within reason that I was going to do that. It was just usually a lack of communication that got us to that point. Lee, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there's a fine line there, so I don't want to disagree with you. So I agree with you, but the fine line is I honestly don't believe after years of experience that you can truthfully have one person run that. And the reason is because you need a development system to figure out from each department. One, you want to hold your production accountable, so they have to be aware of these things that are taking place. So what you need is a guy to really work with each department and a specific guy from your department. That way you're able to, because you shouldn't continuously take cancels. I mean, it's kind of a plug the whole system. You know what I mean? If you know you're taking cancels because the lawns look bad, I mean, you got to fix the lawns. You got to make the lawns look good. If you're taking cancels because of miscommunication, so I don't want to oversimplify it, but it is as easy as identifying the department that's not succeeding and that's causing the problem. Because as you said, you know, the fine line with that, with having a cancel and then bringing that customer back on board, is, like you said, one of two things. Well, you save the customer and you save the loss of a future prospect. And not only do you do that, but when you have a problem with a customer and you fix that problem, you develop a relationship and a sense of um, being able to rely on you and see that you can take the adversity, so that you know that customer is way more loyal if you're able to come through on your promise when fixing that problem. So it is a huge deal to bring a customer back on, but you really need to identify where you're losing them in the first place. Because if you nip that at the bud in the source, nip it in the bud at the source, you're able to cut down needing an entire team or the stress of maintaining, you know, those cancels.
Yeah, absolutely right. And just to clarify that point on the single person owning the number, basically, own the tracking of it to relay that information back to those different departments. You know, just so that like it's almost like creating a funnel process that like you're gonna have to get past this checkpoint, and this person is the checkpoint so that we get accurate information filtered out through the company so that we can fix these problems upstream.